Hey guys, it's Rohit here. Welcome back to another video. Today's video is a little out of order from what I had originally planned, but since winter is almost over, I thought now would be a good time to make a video like this. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to monitor the temperature and humidity of your clarinet, as well as how to store it. I will mention a lot of products that I have used over the years that have worked reliably well for me, and they'll all be linked in the description below. Just a quick note, my previous videos have been more geared towards beginner players and review for more advanced players. This video is geared towards more advanced players, as this talks about topics involving wooden clarinets. Wooden clarinets are the clarinets used by more advanced players compared to beginner players who start out on plastic clarinets. If you like this video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, if there's anything you would like me to go over in a future video, please drop a comment below. Alright, let's get started! Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about is temperature. Temperature is important to monitor, as too low of a temperature can cause stress to the wood of the clarinet. So the first thing I will discuss is, if you're ever walking outside with your instrument and it's cold and you get to wherever you're going, I like to let the case acclimate a little bit to the indoor temperature before opening it up. So always make sure you give yourself enough time to get to rehearsal. Next, assemble the instrument very gently. Make sure you're not forcing the corks together, as pushing can cause mechanical stress, which can then lead to cracks. Once you have the whole instrument assembled, you should take it and put it under your arm. Always heat the instrument up from the outside first using your body heat. Do not ever blow warm air into an instrument after you've taken it right out of the case. This is because the wood is still cold, and blowing warm air can cause the wood to expand too much, which will then lead to cracks. Now, a good way to check if the instrument is warm enough is to feel the metal. If the metal feels cold, you shouldn't play the instrument just yet, and you should tuck it back under your arm to warm it up more. Once the instrument is fully assembled, I like to start with long tones and make them soft. Don't play loud. Alright, so temperature is one part. Now humidity is another important part. Humidity should generally be within the range of 40 to 60%. There are a few ways you can monitor and control this. First thing I would recommend is having one or two of these Boveda humidity two-way control packs in your case. I use 49% in my case because I don't like to go too high, because there are 72%, but that is too high and that can shock the wood, and then if you go into a dry practice room afterwards, it can cause problems. A good way to check if it works is if it feels soft on the inside. Usually when it hardens, that's when it's time to replace them. I also use a hygrometer, both in my case and in my room, to check the humidity. You can buy these cheap off of Amazon. Then another thing I use is a Vicks humidifier. I use this because in my apartment in New York, it's only heated by radiators, so it can get dry very easily. I like to use the humidifier on a low setting because you don't want to over-humidify the room past the point that we discussed. Over-humidifying can cause rust to form on the keys of your clarinet. Now, an important thing I want to talk about is reed storage in the winter. It's always important to store your reeds in a good reed case. The ones that the reeds come in out of the box don't monitor humidity and adjust well to temperature, so that's why I always recommend using a reed case. I use the Bradley Bain 20-pack reed case, but if you're in high school, you only need a 10-pack one. And in this case, it has a nice storage area for all my reeds, and then within each rail, there's a humidity pack. Now here we can use 72% because reeds don't last as long as a wooden clarinet will, and you want to make sure you humidify them more so than your clarinet. Especially in winter, it's important to make sure your reeds are humidified because cold weather can cause them to stop responding very well. Now I want to talk about moisture management. If you're practicing in a cold room, you will naturally produce more condensation through the instrument, so it's important to swab once you're done playing. When you're packing up, make sure you remove water from your keys. I've addressed how to do this properly in my How to Set Up Your Clarinet and How to Pack It Up video. Make sure you don't over-swab the clarinet, especially if it's wooden, because that can wear away the wood over time. Finally, here are a few things that I would suggest to keep your clarinet safe this winter. First thing is make sure you use a well-fitted case that closes well and properly stores the instrument. I use a BAM clarinet case for both my B-flat and A clarinet, but usually the cases that instruments initially come in out of the shop are pretty well for at least the first few years, so it's important to keep an eye on them. Always keep the instrument in the case and make sure it's closed while not in use. Second, make sure you apply cork grease appropriately so that you're not pushing the corks together, which will cause tension and stress. And lastly, never leave a clarinet case outside in a car when it's cold. Alright everyone, thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. I hope you all have a wonderful day.